Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ball Caps and Bagpipes, a Scottish baseball podcast. I'm former Glasgow Comets outfielder John McKellar.
And I'm Scottish Baseball Hall of Famer Jason Durr.
Jason, you're coming from Sweden tonight, is that right?
I am. I'm with the in-laws, so we're in the middle of nowhere in Sweden right now. I think we call it a hamlet. There's about 150 people in the area. So
that sounds like my kind of place.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's definitely relaxing. No snow. It's cold, but no snow yet.
Better Wi-Fi there than in the man cave.
Yeah, a little bit better than man cave. A bit warmer than man cave as well, too.
Wow. So this is in all likelihood going to be the last episode, certainly of 2019, and quite possibly will be the last one until about spring training time. Maybe the season finale of the first season of Ball Caps and Bagpipes, unless we can somehow manage to squeeze in another episode. We have a fantastic guest on today, the manager and catcher for the 3 times defending Scottish baseball champions, the reigning Caledonia Classic holders, the Glasgow Galaxy. Mr. John Tafe will be joining us very shortly. Before we do, let's talk about some free agents.
Right, yeah, we've had a couple big names signed so far. We've had Garrett Cole. Curious what your opinion is on that for you being a Yankees fan.
Well, as you know, as Yankee fans, we wanted Cole for Christmas, and we got what we wanted. Couldn't be more thrilled with that. The dollar amount is higher than I think even Hal Steinbrenner was ready to shell out, but I think it was going to be what was going to be necessary to bring him to the Bronx. Obviously, his agent, Scott Boras, is known for being quite ruthless that way, and will get his client the biggest amount of money and the exact years that they're looking for more than anything else. So the fact that Garrett Cole, with the sign and things he was saying at his press conference, it was all great. It was quite poetic, and it made me more happy than I already was that he was a Yankee. But none of that would have meant anything if Scott Boras hadn't gotten the bottom line that he wanted from the Yankees. So I'm pleased that the Yankees have gone that extra mile. I'm also pleased that I don't have to pay his wages. I'm glad it's not my money. But 9 years, $324 million. Apparently there is an option for the Yankees to veto his opt-out, which I believe is after season 5. And add
5-year option.
To add a 10th year at $36 million. So, I mean, the guy's only 29. He's probably the best pitcher in the universe right now. I'm very happy with that.
So it's interesting. It came up because during the last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, we had in my daily baseball post, Kevin Brown had signed the first $100 million contract. And I know previously we had Nolan Ryan was the first $1 million player, and we started a discussion on Instagram to see what would Nolan Ryan get in his prime. How much more would he get than Garrett Cole, or would he get less of him?
I think that Nolan Ryan in his prime, if he were around now, he would have to be at least a $40 million a year pitcher, quite possibly 45.
It would be interesting because I said he signed with the Astros. I think it was 1980 or 81, and he was the first $1 million a year player or pitcher.
Yeah,
I can't remember. I think it was player. So, so you got to think that was in his prime. He was making $1 million in 1980. So yeah, fast forward 40 years later, he's going to make 40 times the money.
That's crazy, isn't it? Inflation really has gone crazy in the last 30 years.
No, it's not. So there was collusion back in the 80s, and that's what was keeping salaries down. So I think it was Andre Dawson in 1987 basically showed up the Cubs spring training and said, "Pay me whatever, I'm gonna play for you guys." I think he was only paid $500,000 for that season because the teams are colluding each other to keep the salaries suppressed. And then after that, salaries were on the rise, and you start seeing the $1 million, $2 million, $3 million players. So inflation played to it, yeah. But it was there was definitely some collusion.
This is interesting. This is something I did not know about from the 80s. That's a wee bit before, obviously, when I became a fan of baseball. My memories, or not my memories, but the kind of the video and stuff that I've seen of the 80s is kind of stuff like the Pine Tar game, and obviously Pete Rose winding down his career and all that. That's interesting. We'll need to cover this collusion by owners in a bit more detail in a future episode, I think.
Yeah, it sounds good. Yeah, if you, especially last year in the free agency, how it was really slow. You heard people talk about collusion. Yeah, 1986, 1987 was when they really started referencing that the owners were actually colluding to keep salaries down, and after that, that's when you saw the explosion of salaries.
Interesting. So yeah, Mr. Cole will be mighty comfortable for the next 10 years.
30 million a year, 35 million a year. You're gonna have to figure out to spend it on something. A new house every year.
Yeah, or just a new gift every year for Luke Voigt in exchange for the number.
Yes, exactly.
Please let me keep the number, Luke. That'll be another dodge, please. So he will be wearing number 45, which is interesting because obviously that was Luke Voigt's number. Now I noticed that there was a lot of talk about will Voigt give him the jersey. Now, to your understanding, how much control does a player actually have over that?
So once the number is yours, you can do whatever you want with it. So some people request money, or some people request watches or cars. I think my favorite was John Kruk was playing for the Phillies, and somebody was traded over and had John Kruk's number, and he gladly gave it to him for a case of beer.
That sounds like John Kruk.
So yes, so once the player has their number, they're allowed to change it, and obviously if someone comes, you can basically negotiate what you want for your number there. So, but yes, I think my John Cook is probably the best one. He said, "Nah, the number doesn't mean much to me. Give it to me for a case of beer, and it's yours."
That's interesting because obviously different players would have different attachment to their numbers for various reasons. Let's move on to other free agent signings. Obviously, Steven Strasbourg stayed with the Nationals. I think he signed what at the time was the all-time record for a pitcher for a few hours. Was that 245 million? Am I right in saying?
I believe that you're correct on that. Yeah, I think the record lasted all of 24 hours, 20 hours.
I think something around 18 to 20 hours when Gerrit Cole finally signed with the Yankees. So Strasbourg stays with the Nationals. Does that mean that they are still the team to beat?
I think so. I think as long as you have Corbin, Strasburg, and Scherzer as your top three pitchers, I think you're going to be in the running no matter what. So, I mean, you only need three pitchers through the playoffs these days. So, I would say the Nats still have a good chance of repeating.
And Zach Wheeler, I believe he ended up with the Mets.
Did he re-sign with the Mets? I didn't actually see if he had re-signed or not.
Someone who did move, who I was absolutely gutted by, was Mr. Didi Gregorius. He is now a Philly for a year.
Yeah, but that's why. What's your attachment with Didi?
Right. So after Jeter retired in 2014, there were huge shoes to fill at shortstop, and Didi more than filled them. He became an iconic player in his own right, and I think it's hard not to grow mighty attached to DD for that. Obviously, he didn't perform well last year. I think he batted 236, but that's coming off of Tommy John surgery and having seen limited playing time. So, on the one hand, yes, I can understand why he's left. We have Gleyber Torres. He can move to short. He's naturally a shortstop. We have DJ LeMahieu. He will play second. We're fine as in terms of the actual players we have still left over, but from a sentimental standpoint, it's sad to see DD go.
It would be weird seeing him in a Reds uniform, but I think that ballpark might be suited to him. We might see him hit a bunch of home runs there. Cincinnati's tiny.
Oh, it's the Phillies he went to.
Oh, Phillies. Oh, yep. Sorry.
Which is also where Mr. Zach Wheeler ended up. I was wrong. He didn't sign back with the Mets. He went to Philadelphia. Do those two additions make the Phillies a much improved team, alongside obviously Joe Girardi taking over as coach?
I think they bounce back. I think NL East will always be interesting. With the Braves, Mets, Phillies in there. I don't think anyone has to worry about the Marlins for another decade or two. You never know. But besides Anthony Rendon going to the Angels, which doesn't help my Mariners at all, the big trade was Corey Kluber going to the Rangers.
Yeah, now that was kind of a head scratcher for me. Do you think that this makes the Rangers more of a competitor, or what? Are they just looking for some fancy names to add to their new ballpark?
Anything that not talk about the ballpark catching on fire already. They haven't had their first game and it's already caught on fire.
Yeah,
that's not a good start. I think it makes the NL or AL West even more competitive with obviously Rendon going to the Angels, and now with them with having Trout, Otani. Their pitching's really suspect, but I guess if you have enough defense out there, you'd be fine. The Rangers, I still think of them as a 500 ball club, even with Kluber in the lineup. But this means my Mariners can get beat up on again.
Or they'll beat the shit out of each other, and the Mariners will slip in through the back door.
No, I'm not counting on that one at all.
Oh, have some faith. Have some faith, Jason.
Can you name more than 3 players on the Mariners roster right now?
I mean, well, I could try. I could try.
I could barely name 3 players, but there's a good chance that they've been traded already just in the conversation that's been started.
Yeah. Well, they are in a rebuild mode. They're they're a long way away from the 2001 Mariners and being back there. Don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah, no, I'm living on nostalgia there. Funny enough, I actually just bought a 2001 All-Star jersey. So looking forward to that showing up. So.
Interesting. The 2001 All-Star game, as we covered before, holds a lot of sentimental value to me because it was the second ever baseball game I ever watched and the first All-Star game.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Well,
maybe I'll have to see if I can find you a jersey. I know I saw a Derek Jeter one, but I'm not dropping $200 for you to get a Derek Jeter All-Star jersey for 2000. I know it's Christmas and all, but I'm a bit of a Scrooge.
See, what you're forgetting is I can edit this and make it sound like you said it. Anyway, have there been any other major kind of signings or moves?
I think that's it for the moment. It's been a good off season. I'm glad to see the winter off season's been busy. That people have been moving. It's not like last year where everything kind of waited till days before spring training started. So I'm glad to see things are moving along. Fine.
Yeah, and not just in a player capacity, but also for the league and stuff as well. You've got Rob Manfred announcing the 3-batter minimum for pitchers. But we won't go into that here. I think we'll talk about that, I think, in depth next season.
Yeah, we'll definitely have a discussion about the new rules that are implemented for next season.
Some of them, okay, they make sense. Some of them are kind of starting to get a bit silly, in my opinion, but we'll leave it there and we'll discuss it a bit more next year. How about we get our guest on for today? And we're joined by John Tafe of the Glasgow Galaxy now. How are you doing, John?
Yeah, really good, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks very much for joining us. Today, we wanted to have you on, like we've had in the past few episodes, and just get you to talk about the 2019 season for the Galaxy. It's been another tremendously successful one for you, probably, if anything, your best yet. I believe you guys finished with a 16-2 record, and you swept the board with regards to trophies. You won both the league and also the Caledonia Classic, the first team to ever do the double, so to speak, in Scottish baseball. So why don't you talk us through what progress you feel that the team have made, and really what progress can you guys still make at this point?
Yeah, I mean we were 16-2, and that was awesome, but it probably sounds better than it was. I mean, it was a pretty tight season for most of the way, up until probably the last couple of weeks. Throughout the whole season, the top of the table was pretty tight between us and I think Giants had a run at it. Express had their run. Cannons were right there the whole time. So it was, pretty tight most of the way. It's really just in the last couple of weeks that we kind of pulled away a little bit. So it was a great season. But like I said, I didn't feel like we really ran away with it the way it maybe looks in the stand.
Now, this season was the third straight year that you guys have won the title. Is this you took over in 2017? Am I right?
Yeah. Jason Stott, who had a wee boy then, so he handed the reins over to me for that year. I've been on the team for 2 years, so this was my 5th year in 2019, and I took over the reins, and then Jason sort of came back the next year, and we've been doing kind of more of a co-managing thing, sort of the last.
Now, how do you keep the guys motivated, having won the title, won it again, and now you've won both the league and the cup double? How do you keep the guys motivated to keep winning?
I mean, the guys are just motivated themselves, I think we've been quite lucky because we have a great core group of guys who've been there for a few years, and so they really the team really manages itself in that these guys know exactly what they're doing, and they go out there every week, and a lot of the guys are coming really regularly to all the practices, and so we just go out and kind of do our thing every week. In terms of this past year, we had an influx of some rookies too, which really helped us. We were about halfway through the season, we got like 3 or 4 new people onto the team, and it kind of gave it a great spirit for like the second half of the season.
Because I want to say you guys have a really good group, a core group. I want to say the core 4 of you, Luke, Jason, and we got Jim who's there, and Louise, MCR, yes.
Mike Sweeney's there, and Andy Sweeney, Ali. We joined by Jacob the last couple of years, which was huge for us. But then we got other guys too, especially this year who came along. Fiona, Ralph, Rory, Callum. A bunch of guys who came, and when they came, they showed up every week, and that always makes a big difference. If you can get guys kind of motivated quickly, and then they just want to come every week. Obviously, winning's fun, so that helps too. So, but I think we got a good spirit. I don't know what it looked like maybe from the other side, but on our side of the bench, we're having a good time.
I said winning's obviously fun. But I was to say, are the guys learning a lot on the bench there? I mean, that was always one of the things when I was playing, was trying to get the new guys up to speed and teach them part of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing we've done better the last few years is to try to kind of keep everybody in the game all the time. So we've started to do more of the kind of little things, like just kind of talk the game, through the whole game. So, what the one thing that's helped a lot is somebody on the bench keeping score. We started doing that on paper, a few years ago, and this last year we started doing it, through the app, and it really helps. So there's somebody on the bench keeping score, and there's usually somebody else maybe helping them. So there's 2 people on the bench who aren't just kind of sitting there twiddling their thumbs; they're actually involved in the whole game, and so they're thinking about the game. They know everything that's going on. And so it's just little things like that, making sure people know how many outs there are, make sure they know who's coming up the next inning, make sure they know like what they did last time. So stuff like that's really helped, and it kind of shows that everyone's there to kind of help us win the game. And even if you're on the bench, you can help out.
Oh, absolutely.
So from a coaching standpoint, then, John, how do you, on a personal level, keep motivated? How do you stay in the game and make sure that, from a coaching standpoint, that you're still picking out weaknesses and helping people to develop when you guys are winning so much? I mean, you guys have won probably a total of roughly around 40 games in the last 2-3 seasons. So how do you, as a coach, keep people on their toes?
It helps that we've got a bunch of other guys too who help out a lot. So guys like Luke, who I think this was his 3rd year in the league. He's a guy who's knows a lot about the game. He's our starting pitcher, so obviously he has a leadership role when he's on the field. But when it comes to like the practice and stuff, he's helping out a lot. We got guys like Jim and obviously Jason Stott, who's the co-manager, and these guys just help motivate everybody sort of all the time, and kind of like hopefully they see new guys see what everybody else is doing, and they just kind of learn that that's the approach to the game. When it comes to trying to get everybody in the field, it's always a challenge. When you're trying to be competitive and you're trying to, especially as you get into those really, really critical games, and you're looking at like cup games and stuff like that. But we always try to do the best and try to get everybody some playing time. But the key is making sure guys show up to practice. Guys who show up to practice are the guys who then just end up being better on the field. So.
Yeah, no, I would say it was always the hard part, was getting people to show up and buy into it, knowing that my approach was always say it's going to take you 2 years to get decent. So when someone would show up, it was always like, okay, right, you're going to suck, and you're going to suck a lot. But I always would tell them that if you failed 7 times out of 10, you're a Hall of Famer, and that you what was able to get people to keep coming back and go, look, no matter what I do. I was chatting to somebody who'd reached out on Instagram to me, and I was just like, he's like, oh, I want to play, but I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, no, just show up, you get there, you're gonna suck, for 2 years, and then it'll be all right then.
Yeah, I also think we've had a lot of focus on defense the last few years too, and I think that helps with new people, because I think a lot of, if you're completely new to the game, obviously that's one of the big differences between here and in the States, is a lot of the people who are playing are picked up the game later in life. We don't have a lot of players now who are Scottish who started when they were younger. Most of them have started sort of at best in their late teens, usually in their 20s. If you can teach them some fundamentals of defense, then they can become really useful, and they'll get their playing time, because that's really what you need guys to be able to do, is to be able to, win it in the field. I think probably get bored with me saying that, but I'm always saying that that's where the game's going to be won and lost. It's going to be won and lost in the field. And I think that's something we've improved on over the last few years, just like kind of playing quite simple in the field, playing within ourselves. And I think, when guys see that, and they see that actually the game can be quite simple, and if you just learn a few basic things and you get confident with them, and then it's just going out and repeating that, you can suddenly become, really useful player to a team.
No,
I would have to completely agree with John there. I know that in a lot of derby games that the two Glasgow teams have played in the past couple of years, it has been whoever will blink first from a defensive standpoint that will end up going on to lose the game. I think across Glasgow that is a philosophy that's shared between the clubs, as a kind of defensive first mentality.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is, and it's the kind of thing that if you take somebody who's maybe new to the game, you can just sit with them and do a lot of repetitions. You can sit there and hit them, ground ball after ground ball after ground ball until they eventually, get sick of it. But they're learning the basics of that over and over again. And we've just scheduled our indoor training, and that's the kind of stuff we're going to do there. You can't do a lot of hitting or plays, because we don't have a big space. But we can get back to the basics on how you field a ground ball, how you pivot, how you throw, and we can get everybody just back to repeating that over and over again, and get that sort of muscle memory into people, especially the ones who are new to the game. But even if you're not new to the game, it's the kind of thing that everybody just needs to get back to at the beginning of the season and just start from the basics all over again.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to start off slow in the winter, get out of the basics going, because it's you only have a limited amount of time. You got to get definitely stretched out, warmed up, and then when it comes to actually be outside, you're ready to go and extend things and actually see some live pitching and whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, I think though, we were just really lucky in terms of a lot of the players that we got, were guys that came. I think Comets have been a little bit less lucky the last few years, when they've certainly got a lot of talent, but then, I think last year a bunch of guys left. Whereas we managed to get some guys, and they stuck around. And so, the last couple of years, we've just had a really core group, and it's great when every week. I mean, what it's like coaching a team, Jason. It's every week you're wondering, am I going to get enough guys out there? And when you just know week on week, these guys are going to show up, and they're going to be, they're going to be good. And the guys who've been coming to training, and the guys who know what they're doing, then it makes everything else a lot easier.
So I was wondering, who's the unsung superstar on your team? I mean, everyone's got the awards here and there, but I mean, who's the one person that you've really seen in the 5 years you play that maybe come from nothing and has really turned their thing around, or it just shows up day in, day out, and you can see the hard work being put in?
Yeah, we have a bunch of guys who are like that. We've got guys like Chris Young who've been coming every week, and then you can just see the improvements in their game. But we've got guys like Andy Sweeney, especially the last couple of years, has really come on. You really notice it in his hitting, especially, that this guy's there are times during the season this guy's like a middle of the order bat for you. This guy's just crushing the ball. Ali Hayes, the guy who he shows up every week. He works hard, and now he's the kind of guy you can just put out there, and this guy can give you a full game, and he'll give you a great game. The last couple of years, though, Elvis has been an amazing addition for us. This is a guy who is, I think he joined 3 years ago, and he was, young. I think he had played in Lithuania, and he came along, and he was just, really, young, fast. He kind of gave us a kind of type of game we didn't really have in terms of speed. And this guy's just been able to do everything for us. He's 5 tools. He can hit. I think he hit a home run this year. He suddenly got power. He can run. He can certainly pitch for us. So he's a guy I think who I thought at the beginning of the year, he might be our MVP, and he certainly put in an amazing season for us.
Oh, that's great to hear. I mean, that was always one of the great things about watching the guys come in and out and see that improvement. And it's easy for us at being, American, that, we played at 5 years old. We've got 40 years experience behind us, and just see the guys now be able to go and do it. And then, in a year or two that they're doing pretty well. Yeah,
definitely. And it was good to see like 4 or 5 of these rookies come along this year, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how they develop their game next year, because all of them took huge step forwards this year, and I think it'll be great, next year when we have them back, because that's what the game's all about here in Scotland. It's about trying to develop the game and try to widen participation, and right now the best way we can do that is to just make the game as accessible as possible for people.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I mean, that was always the goal, is just to get more and more people playing there. I'm always amazed to see the league's growing every year. I said, with another Dundee, to have 8 teams next year will be incredible. Thinking back that when we started this in 2008, there was 4 teams, and so we've doubled it in 12 years' time, which is amazing.
Yeah, that is great. And I think I was surprised here because baseball's obviously not a top sport here. It's really underground a little bit, but when you just scratch the surface a bit and you start to talk to people here about baseball, suddenly everyone's got a bit of an interest in it. You don't have to go too far till somebody has either been to the States and watched games or remembers watching games on Channel 5, and they had a team back then, and you suddenly realize there's a lot of interest in baseball if you can get the word out. So I'm really optimistic about we're starting our indoor training, and we're going to really promote that over the next few weeks and see if we can, get a whole new group of people on board.
So now let's move then, John, to this past season. Were there any new challenges that you had to face this year outside of the usual rotating players in and out and making sure everyone has the right amount of playing time over the course of the 18 games? Were there any new challenges that you had to face this year that have maybe developed from the last 2 seasons when you won the league? Also, obviously, you're thrice defending champions at this point. Do you still find yourself running into new challenges every year?
I mean, yeah, there new challenges every year that crop up. I think one of the biggest challenges we had in the beginning of the year, especially, was that we started the indoor training a bit late. We didn't start until I think February.
It was early February, I believe.
Yeah, and so we definitely were showing a bit of rust kind of early in the season. I think definitely in the field, especially because guys maybe just didn't have as many opportunities to get all the repetitions in. And so you were noticing it a little bit early in the season that we were a little bit rusty. But, as the season went on, that kind of evened itself out. And, I think other teams were the same way, though. I don't think, that probably wasn't unique to us. But, as the season got going and we started to get more regular, especially outdoor practices, I think that kind of took care of itself. And I think by the end of the season, we were pretty sharp, especially in the field. Besides that, I think it was a longer season this year. I think it was 18 games. I don't know if that was, I forget if that was new this year, if it's been 18 the last couple of years. But
I think it was 16 the past couple of years, and it's gone up to 18 with the addition of the Express.
That's right. Yeah. And so I did notice it at the end that I was maybe extra tired at the end of the season because it had been a long season, and I think we had these kind of gaps in the middle of the season where we didn't play for maybe 3 or 4 weeks because of the timing of like the London series and I think the Kent tournament. We took some time off, so just kind of getting into that rhythm was kind of a challenge as well, especially like with guys who maybe hadn't seen a lot of playing time and then they sort of played for a while and then didn't play for like 3 or 4 weeks, and just trying to keep guys kind of motivated over that time was a bit of a challenge. But besides that, I think I think the season went well. We played pretty solid. We tend to play kind of within ourselves and just the game that we know how to play, and so we just kind of went out there pretty confidently each week. When you've got like a guy like Luke who can take the mound most of the weeks for you, you're going to go through a bit of confidence thinking you can win.
Yeah, I can attest to him being a formidable pitcher to face over the course of a season.
It was a shame we never got to face Sam. I think that would have been a great game.
If we could
have faced Sam. That didn't seem to happen. I think early in the season we just happened to get him on a week when he was away. The Cannons on a week when he was away, and then he was gone by the time we played our doubleheader against them. So, in fact, I think he was injured by that time.
Yeah, I think he was injured right before you guys were supposed to play him. But it was a shame. It would have been a great pitching matchup. It would have been not many hits for that game.
Do you have any personal highlights from this past season, John, as a player or as a coach, just in general?
There were a few highlights. I think winning the cup was great because we didn't do that. I know it's only been around for 2 years, but we didn't do that last year, which was a disappointment. Even though we had a great season last year, I think losing the cup was, especially to the Devils, because the Devils has always been a bit of our nemesis for the last. When I first started playing, we were second place to them for the first 2 seasons, and we would always play really, really close games against them. And I think losing again to them in the cup was kind of tough. Although we did win the season, and we were really, really happy with that 2 years ago. So this year, winning both cups was really good. That's something that we are really proud of as a team. But also just trying seeing some of the guys improve. We got our the first female player, Fiona, joined this year too, and seeing her go up and take some confident swings and getting a hit, that was really good too. Because that's something I know we want to do as a league is encourage more women into the league. So that was brilliant. But besides that, seeing one of the things that was kind of a proud moment, but a difficult one, was that I lost my catcher's position to Jacob. Jacob took over as catcher, which I think is probably a good thing for me, because I think at my age it's probably about time to hang up the old shin guards.
I hadn't realized you'd put down the
seeing him excel. Like he's one of these guys. He came 2 years ago, and he came. I think he had played since he was like a teenager, and he came and he was definitely raw and definitely knew how to play the game. But over the off season, he worked a lot in his swing, and he came to all the training, and he showed up just phenomenal. He was in my mind, he was in the run for the MVP with the kind of numbers he was putting up and what he was doing for us, like on defense, because he turned into, in my opinion, one of the best catchers in the league. So hopefully going forward, that first base is looking attractive to me now.
You mentioned age and giving up the catcher's position. How many more years do you see yourself playing before you kind of either transition out of baseball and into a full-time managing role? So, guys, we lost Mr. Tafe there for a moment, but he has now mercifully come back on. John, you were talking about how many years you still have left in the tank, more or less, as a player.
Yeah. I think I was just saying that I'd like to keep playing as long as I can. As long as I can keep contributing, I'll probably try to keep playing. But as I said, I don't know how much longer I'll be able to catch. That first base is looking really attractive right now, so it might be that I have to go over there, and I like first base. You can sit there, have chats with people, and it's not quite as intense as having a catch. And
do you see managing the Galaxy as your long-term future? Do you see that being something that you'll be sticking in with long beyond your playing career?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fun. It's been fun to get back into baseball. Even just being around guys and talking about baseball is good, because I've been in Scotland for 22 years, and I only started playing again 5 years ago. And you don't really get to chat a lot about baseball just in everyday life like you would back home. So it's good to just on a daily basis, hang around guys. So yeah, I'll definitely see myself staying involved in the club. moving forward for sure.
So that means we'll see you on the sidelines, Connie Mack style in a suit,
You better believe it. Yeah. Better believe it. Yeah.
Now, I know that Jason wanted to close up with one non-Scottish baseball-related question.
Okay.
Yeah, so obviously you went down and watched the London series and saw your Red Sox play. Did you enjoy the experience, and are you going to go next year?
So I did enjoy it. I had family come over. Like, we're crazy diehard Red Sox fans, so I had a lot of family come over. I was managed to convince them to come over and spend tons of money to watch the Red Sox play over here. So I had like five brothers and sisters come over, and we got tickets, and we went to both games, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the experience for sure. For me, the games, I think, as everyone said, the games were not great. They weren't like they were really crazy high scoring games. Obviously the Red Sox lost both. But that didn't really ruin the experience so much. It just 2 games, they happened to lose those games. It happens. I'm still on the fence as to whether I'm gonna go again. I don't know. It was great. It was a good experience, and it was good to go see all the kind of fanfare around it. It didn't really feel like a baseball game. That's kind of how I felt. Felt more like an exhibition game. And to be honest, if it was a pure exhibition game, that might even make more sense.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think it's been a common discussion for most people I've talked about and said, it was great. They came over there, loved it. Atmosphere was fun, but it did exhibition game. So, no, it's a tough one. I mean, with Yankees, Red Sox, you have so much history, and people are diehard for it. And, there's definitely diehard Cubs fans and Cardinals fans, but just not seeing the interest in it this coming season that we did the previous.
Yeah.
So
it was really fun walking around London, seeing millions of people in Red Sox stuff. You usually do see Yankees hats a lot anyway, but seeing just tons and tons of people walking around in Red Sox stuff was fun for me as a Red Sox fan. Typically when you see it, you have to go up and talk to them. But, in that case, it was a bit out of control because it just seemed like all of London, I don't know how you guys thought, but it just seemed like all of London was just covered in Red Sox gear. But I think when it comes to it, when it gets closer to it, I don't think these are selling out the way it was before. Before, I was in a mad panic to get tickets. What I might just do is wait till closer to it, and then maybe get some tickets and go down for one of the games, as opposed to making a whole kind of long weekend out of it like I did before.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people thinking the same thing. That they'll wait, see what happens there, find someone's place to crash out, get the tickets cheap, and then just go to the games.
Yeah. Well, they got that whole. I'm assuming they still got that whole stadium they can put up again. So they're going to do something with it, and I'm assuming they'll keep doing these going forward. I think it is a great thing to do, and it's a great exhibition of baseball over here in Europe. But I just think I think the way they did it there, I think maybe it was too much. It was maybe a bit over the top with the fanfare and the exhibition, and maybe if they get a couple games that they're maybe closer and more competitive. And not just these super high scoring games. It might be a better exhibition of baseball.
Exactly. Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I follow the Red Sox organist on Instagram, and I asked him if he was invited to go and play the organist over for the games, and he said no, he was not invited. So I thought that was interesting.
Right. I mean, they did a lot of things in the park that you wouldn't see in a Red Sox Yankees park, with the races and the quizzes and I get it. It was there to be an exciting thing for even non-baseball fans. But I think where they maybe got it wrong is most of the people who are showing up were pretty good baseball fans, who bothered to come out to something like that. So maybe they'll learn a little bit about that, and that they don't have to have these ridiculous quizzes about what's a stolen base.
Yes.
On the things. I think the people who are going to bother to come to something like this probably know the game of baseball already. Stuff like that, I think they did. But it was, sounds like a moan, but it was awesome.
No, exactly. That's everyone's to come like that. It was like, little things here and there, and you understand you've got to have the people with new interest have to learn about stuff there. But I think you're right. Most people that went knew baseball, and you were coming because it was your opportunity to see baseball live in Europe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So just to finish up then, John, a quick question. If you had to choose, which would you say is your favourite of the achievements? 3 straight titles or winning the double?
Probably the 3 straight titles. That's just because it involves more games. I think that's been like I kind of started with, it's a testament to the commitment guys have had over the years. The winning the Caledonian Cup's great. We managed to kind of pull it together for the postseason this year. But I think winning the 3 straight titles has been fantastic, and I think we got every intention to try to do it again. So we'll see what happens.
And what do you see as the keys to 4 in a row?
Probably. I mean, it's simple stuff. It's pitching and defense. I think if we can continue to focus on those types of things, those little things that win games. I think what's great is we now have guys where we can take it to the next level. We can start talking about doing things that are a little bit more complex than just trying to focus on the basics. And when you get to that point, I think that's when you can really start to make the games, more fun. You can start to get guys to really think about the game, a little deeper, and we can hopefully take advantage of those things on the field. A lot of it comes down to pitching too. If we can get our pitching depth back, and guys, showing up and training, and everybody else, taking it seriously like they have been, I think we'll be in with a shot.
That's great, John. There's nothing more from me. Jason, you wanted to say something?
I would just say wish you best of luck next season. It's 4 hasn't been done yet. 3 has been done twice. So
all right. Hey, you just gave me one motivation.
So the Canada's done it for 3 years. The Devils have done it for 3 years, and then, of course you guys have done 3 now. So you'll be gunning for the 4th, and you guys now break that tie.
Cool.
All the best for the 2020 season, John, for you and the guys.
All right, guys.
Thank you very much for joining us. So thanks again to John Tafe of the Glasgow Galaxy for joining us. Fantastic chat, I thought, Jason.
Yeah, it was great. John's always a good person to talk to. He's well-rounded, knows the sport inside and out, and it's great to hear that he's developing things out that way, and the team is doing well because of it.
Yeah, certainly the light blue side of Glasgow is where my heart belongs and always will belong. But I think the strides that the Galaxy have taken under Tafe have been outstanding, and you couldn't ask for a better steward for baseball in Glasgow.
Exactly. No. Yeah.
So let's wrap it up for this week's edition and for the season. What have you got first off for us on this day in baseball this week?
So this day being, was it the 21st today? I don't even know.
I think today was the 22nd.
22nd. So the 22nd December, 1980, the Red Sox failed to send out some key paperwork. They were 2 days late sending the contracts to Fred Lind and Carlton Fisk, and by doing so, they became free agents. So Carlton Fisk immediately signed with the White Sox, and Fred Lind ended up being traded to the California Angels back in the day. So
I'm sure that renowned Red Sox fan John Tafe will love that.
So if that's anything to do, get your paperwork done on time, because it does have repercussions.
So even when I'm picking non-Yankee days, I'm still beating up on those Red Sox.
Yeah, I haven't had any Yankee ones lately. I don't think, other than I think yesterday, Yankee phenom Brian Taylor. He was the number 1 pick in like 1991. Got into his bar fight and ruined his left shoulder, and that was the end of his career.
That's right. I think that was last time we did the show. That one was.
Yes. So we haven't had too many Yankee mishaps. So
where can listeners find these on this day posts of yours?
So yeah, if you look on Instagram, I'm on Bubba on Baseball. I'll be hitting up Twitter come the new year, and of course we're on Facebook as well too. So, and
certainly if you want to listen to the show, and why wouldn't you? You can listen to the show at anchor.fm/capsandpipes, or search the show on any podcast provider of your choosing. Now, if you are listening on Anchor, please do leave us a voice message. Let us know which team in both the major leagues and also the Scottish baseball leagues that you're going to be rooting for in 2020, and we'll play them on the show when we come back next year.
Yep. I hope you guys have happy holidays and Merry Christmas. I'm saying goodbye from Sweden.
Oh yeah, enjoy the rest of your time away, and I hope you have a safe trip back with the family. And I have now re-entered the world of Twitter myself. I've created a new Twitter account just for this show. It's John Caps Pipes on Twitter. You can find the show on Facebook at Caps and Pipes. We have, obviously, as we've mentioned before, Jason, this first few episodes we've been kind of running a trial run, a pilot run, if you will. So this first season's been kind of condensed. We didn't start until kind of, I think, late August-ish, when the season was more or less already wrapped up. Again, thanks to all of our guests that we've had on so far, Jacob and John of the Galaxy, Rory and Ren of the Cannons, and also the league president, Paul Convoy, who joined us last time on the show. Thanks to anyone who's listened, and we hope that you'll join us again in 2020 as we try and grow the sport of baseball in Scotland and beyond. That's it from me for now. Happy holidays or Merry Christmas to everyone, and we'll see you in the new year.
Yes. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to all you guys.
It's been great fun, Jason, and I shall catch you in the new year. Bye for now.